Jake Morrison stood at the big window of the space station and looked out at the empty darkness. 3 years had passed since the Alien Council sent their last message to Earth. They had told the whole galaxy that humans were dead and gone forever. They had put up a big wall of energy around the entire solar system to keep everyone out. The aliens thought they were smart. They had erased every trace of humans from their star maps and history books. Every human colony outside Earth had been destroyed or abandoned. Every trade deal was canceled. Every friendship was broken. To the rest of the galaxy, humans were just another dead race that had killed itself with nuclear weapons. But the aliens were wrong about everything. Down on Earth, 7 billion humans were very much alive. They lived in deep underground cities and hidden bases that the aliens could never find. Dr. Lisa Park ran the whole operation from a massive bunker under the Colorado mountains. She talked to secret groups all over the planet every single day. The plan had taken 20 years to set up, and it was working perfectly. The fake war that destroyed the surface cities had looked real enough to fool everyone. The radiation readings were just right. The satellite images showed exactly what the aliens expected to see. Even the few alien spies who had made it to Earth before the quarantine went up had found nothing but death and ruins. Commander Ryan Brooks controlled all the military forces from an underwater base in the Pacific Ocean. His submarines moved through the deep ocean, where no alien sensors could reach them. His fighter planes flew through underground tunnels that connected to hidden airfields. His soldiers trained in caves that had been carved out of solid rock over many years. Every heat signature was hidden by special technology. Every radio signal was blocked or disguised. Every sign that humans still existed was carefully kept secret. The quarantine field that the aliens had put around the solar system was supposed to keep everyone else out, but it also kept humans trapped inside. That was fine because they were not ready to leave yet anyway. Dr. Amy Rodriguez worked in the biggest underground laboratory on Earth. She had been studying captured alien technology for years. Every piece of alien equipment that humans had ever gotten their hands on was taken apart and examined. She learned how their engines worked and how their weapons fired and how their computers thought. The aliens used quantum field generators for faster-than-light travel. Humans had figured out how to make them work better. The aliens used plasma weapons that could melt through any armor. Humans had learned to make armor that could stop them. The aliens used artificial intelligence to run their ships. Humans had created better AI systems that could think faster and fight smarter. Project Breakthrough was the code name for the secret plan to escape from the solar system prison. Amy had spent 3 years building ships that could slip through the quarantine field without being detected. The technology was based on alien designs but improved in ways that even the original makers would not understand. Lisa Park walked through the command center deep, underground, and watched hundreds of people working at computer screens. Each person had a job that was part of the bigger plan. Some monitored alien communications that leaked through the quarantine field. Others tracked the movement of alien ships near the solar system border. Still others worked on building weapons and supplies for the day when humans would finally reveal themselves. The Colorado bunker was connected to dozens of other hidden bases through a network of tunnels that ran for thousands of miles underground. Maglev trains carried people and supplies between the bases at incredible speed. Geothermal power plants provided unlimited energy. Hydroponic farms grew food in chambers lit by artificial suns. Ryan Brooks stood in the war room of his underwater headquarters and studied reports from around the globe. Every military unit was ready and waiting. Every weapon was tested and prepared. Every soldier knew exactly what their mission would be when the time came. The waiting was the hardest part, but it was almost over. The plan was simple in concept but incredibly complex in execution. Phase 1 had been to fake the extinction of humanity so completely that the aliens would stop watching for them. Phase 2 was to gather intelligence about alien technology and military capabilities while building up human forces in secret. Phase 3 would be to break out of the solar system and remind the galaxy that humans were still very much alive. Amy Rodriguez ran final tests on the prototype ship that would carry the first humans back to the stars. The vessel was sleek and deadly and completely invisible to alien sensors. It could travel faster than any alien ship and hit harder than any alien weapon. Most importantly, it could appear and disappear without warning, using technology that the aliens had never seen before. Jake Morrison had volunteered to pilot the first mission beyond the quarantine field. He had been an astronaut before the fake war, and had spent the last 3 years training on the new technology. He knew that if anything went wrong, he would probably die in the cold, empty space between stars. But he also knew that someone had to take the first step back into the galaxy. The time for hiding was almost over. Soon the aliens would learn that trying to erase humanity from existence had been the biggest mistake in galactic history. They had given humans 3 years to prepare for war, and humans had used every single day to become something far more dangerous than they had ever been before. Lisa. Park looked at the countdown timer on the main screen. 72 hours remained until the first ship would attempt to break through the quarantine field. After 3 years of careful planning and preparation, humanity was about to announce its return to the galaxy in a way that no one would ever forget. Captain Zektar flew his mining ship toward the asteroid field, where his company had been extracting valuable metals for 15 years. The Kepler Mining Consortium owned exclusive rights to this region of space, and their automated systems monitored every rock and every gram of ore that was removed. When his sensors showed that the richest asteroids had been completely stripped clean, he thought his equipment was malfunctioning. The security recordings showed nothing unusual. No ships had entered the area. No energy signatures had been detected. No explosions or mining equipment had been used. Yet somehow millions of tons of rare platinum and quantum crystals had simply vanished without leaving any trace of how or when or who had taken them. Zektar called his supervisor and reported the impossible theft. Within hours, 3 more mining operations in different star systems reported the exact same problem. Their best asteroids had been cleaned out by invisible thieves who left no evidence behind. The stolen materials were always the same types: rare metals needed for advanced spacecraft construction and quantum processors, used in the most sophisticated computer systems. Dr. Velnari received the mining reports at her laboratory on the science world of Academia Prime. As the chief xenobiologist for the Galactic Research Institute, she had studied hundreds of different alien species over her long career. The pattern of thefts made no sense according to any known criminal behavior. Pirates usually took whatever was easiest to grab and sell quickly. These thieves were selecting specific materials with surgical precision. She began analyzing the stolen items and found something disturbing. Every single item that had been taken was perfectly suited for building life support systems designed for a very particular type of biology. The atmospheric processors were calibrated for oxygen-breathing organisms. The gravity generators were set for creatures that evolved on worlds with Earth-like conditions. The medical supplies were all designed for carbon-based life forms with specific blood chemistry requirements. The most puzzling thefts were the information databases. Someone was stealing historical records about extinct species with special focus on races that had been declared dead by the Galactic Council. Most of the stolen data concerned a species called humans who had supposedly wiped themselves out with nuclear weapons 3 years earlier. Security Chief Korthak investigated a break-in at the Central Archives on Nexus Prime. The facility housed the most secure information storage system in the galaxy with defensive systems that could stop a full military assault. Yet someone had walked through every barrier as if it did not exist and accessed classified files for several hours without triggering a single alarm. The intruders had copied thousands of files about human culture, psychology, and military tactics. They had also stolen detailed technical specifications for every type of weapon and spacecraft that humans had ever used. The theft was so clean and professional that Korthak suspected it was the work of a government intelligence agency rather than common criminals. Similar break-ins occurred across 12 different worlds over the following weeks. Each time the thieves penetrated impossible security systems and stole very specific types of information. They seemed to know exactly what they wanted and where to find it. They never took anything valuable that was not directly related to their mysterious research project. Admiral Grixon commanded the Galactic Defense Fleet from his flagship in the Altair system. His long-range patrol ships began reporting strange contacts in the outer territories where few vessels ever traveled. The contacts appeared on sensors for just a few seconds before vanishing completely. When his ships tried to investigate, they found nothing but empty space. The mystery contacts always followed the same pattern. They would appear suddenly and scan the patrol vessel with some kind of unknown sensor technology. The scans were so fast and sophisticated that they gathered complete information about ship design, weapon systems, and crew composition before disappearing into hyperspace. Any attempt to pursue or communicate with the unknown vessels always failed. Grixon ordered his best science officers to analyze the sensor data from these encounters. The energy signatures did not match any known technology in the galactic database. The ships moved faster than should be, physically possible, and used a form of stealth technology that was decades ahead of anything the major powers possessed. The most disturbing aspect of these encounters was their systematic nature. The unknown ships were clearly conducting intelligence-gathering operations across multiple star systems. They were learning everything they could about galactic military capabilities while revealing nothing about themselves. Merchant Captain Dalrak was hauling a cargo of medical supplies to a colony world when his ship was intercepted by something that should not have existed. His sensors detected nothing, but suddenly his crew was unconscious and his cargo bay was empty. When his people woke up 6 hours later, they had no memory of what had happened. The pattern repeated itself dozens of times across the trade routes. Cargo ships would be stopped by invisible attackers who took specific items and left the crews unharmed but confused. The stolen goods were always the same types of materials: advanced electronics, medical equipment, food supplies, and fuel cells. Trade authorities began issuing warnings about the Phantom Raiders, but no one knew how to defend against enemies that could not be seen or detected. Insurance companies raised their rates for ships carrying the types of cargo that the mystery thieves preferred. Some merchants stopped carrying certain items altogether, rather than risk losing their entire shipment. Velnari continued her analysis of the theft patterns and reached a conclusion that terrified her. The systematic gathering of resources and information pointed to only one possible explanation. Someone was preparing for a large-scale military operation that would require advanced technology, extensive supplies, and detailed intelligence about galactic defenses. The biological requirements of the stolen life support equipment suggested that the thieves were preparing to support a species that needed Earth-like conditions to survive. The historical research focused on humans indicated that someone was very interested in learning about a supposedly extinct race. The military intelligence gathering suggested that war preparations were underway. She submitted her report to the Galactic Council with a recommendation that all security forces be placed on high alert. Her analysis concluded that an unknown enemy was preparing to launch attacks against multiple targets across civilized space. The enemy possessed technology that was superior to anything in the galactic arsenal and had been conducting reconnaissance operations for months without being detected. The Council reviewed her report and decided that she was being overly paranoid. After all, what possible threat could come from an extinct species like humans? The phantom thefts were probably the work of some new criminal organization that would eventually be caught and punished. There was no reason to panic about ghost stories and impossible theories. But in the deep space between stars, human ships continued their careful preparations. Every piece of stolen equipment was being put to use. Every scrap of gathered intelligence was being analyzed and turned into tactical advantages. The galaxy had forgotten that humans existed, but humans had not forgotten about the galaxy. Soon everyone would remember why that had been a terrible mistake. The quarantine field around the solar system flickered for exactly 0.3 of a second. The automated monitoring stations recorded it as a minor power fluctuation and filed the data in routine maintenance logs where no one would ever look at it. But in that tiny window of time, the USV Liberty slipped through the barrier like a shadow passing through moonlight. Jake Morrison sat in the pilot seat with his hands on controls that had been modified with technology the aliens never imagined could exist. The ship around him was a masterpiece of human engineering combined with alien science that had been captured, studied, and improved beyond recognition. Every system had been tested and retested until it worked perfectly. Lieutenant Karen Stone monitored the experimental cloaking device that made them invisible to every type of sensor the galaxy used. The technology bent light and energy around their hull so completely that they might as well have been made of empty space. Even if an alien ship flew right through their position, it would detect nothing but vacuum. Their first target was a communications relay station in the Alpha Centauri system. The automated facility processed data streams from thousands of worlds and routed messages between star systems across the galaxy. It was also completely undefended because no one in their right mind would attack a simple communications hub in the middle of civilized space. Engineer. Ben Clark worked in zero gravity outside the station, wearing a suit that was invisible to every scanner the aliens possessed. His tools were human-made, but based on alien designs that had been stolen and reverse-engineered over years of patient research. He installed data collection devices smaller than his fingernail, in places where they would never be found. The hidden taps would monitor every transmission that passed through the relay station. They would copy military orders, trade negotiations, diplomatic communications, and intelligence reports. Most importantly, they would send all of that information back to Earth through channels that the aliens did not know existed. Communications. Specialist Maria Santos uploaded carefully, designed computer viruses into the station systems. The programs would spread slowly through the galactic network, corrupting data about human capabilities and spreading false information about Earth status. Any alien who tried to research human technology would find files that had been subtly altered to make humans seem less dangerous than they really were. The second phase of the mission began as soon as they finished with the communications station. Strike teams led by Colonel Danny Park hit resource facilities in 3 different star systems at exactly the same time. They moved with precision that came from years of planning and training on captured alien equipment. Each team knew exactly what to take and how much time they had before alien security forces could respond. They stole rare metals, quantum processors, medical supplies, and weapon components, while leaving behind evidence that pointed to various criminal organizations. The thefts looked like the work of pirates and smugglers rather than a coordinated military operation. Back on Earth, the underground factories worked at maximum capacity, converting stolen materials into weapons and equipment designed specifically to fight alien technology. Dr. Amy Rodriguez had spent 3 years analyzing every weakness in galactic military systems. She knew exactly where to hit enemy ships to cause maximum damage with minimum effort. Every human bullet was designed to penetrate alien armor. Every missile was programmed to target specific vulnerable points on enemy vessels. Every piece of human armor was built to stop the exact types of weapons that aliens used in combat. The technology was based on stolen alien science, but improved in ways that the original designers never considered. The Liberty completed its mission and returned to Earth without ever being detected. Jake Morrison brought back intelligence data that filled thousands of computer storage devices. The information included detailed maps of alien territories, military base locations, fleet compositions, and defensive capabilities. Lisa Parks studied the intelligence reports in her underground command center. The aliens had grown lazy and overconfident during the 3 years since they had supposedly eliminated humanity. Their patrols followed predictable routes. Their bases were designed to defend against known threats. Their communication systems used encryption that human computers could break in minutes. Commander Ryan Brooks used the new intelligence to update human battle plans. Every alien military installation had been mapped and analyzed. Every enemy ship design had been studied for weaknesses. Every defensive system had been tested against theoretical human attacks. When the time came for open warfare, humans would have every possible advantage. The success of the first breakthrough mission led to dozens more over the following months. Human ships slipped through the quarantine field on a regular schedule, carrying teams of specialists who gathered intelligence and resources from across the galaxy. Each mission was carefully planned to avoid detection while maximizing the information and materials obtained. Amy Rodriguez developed new technologies based on every piece of alien equipment that the strike teams brought back. Human ships became faster and more maneuverable than anything the aliens possessed. Human weapons became more accurate and more powerful than galactic military standards. Human defensive systems became nearly impossible to penetrate with conventional attacks. The aliens remained completely unaware that humanity still existed. Their intelligence services reported increased criminal activity in certain sectors, but attributed it to normal fluctuations in pirate operations. Their scientists noticed some unusual energy signatures in deep space, but dismissed them as natural phenomena or sensor malfunctions. Ben Clark led a mission to infiltrate the main computer systems at Galactic Defense Fleet headquarters. His team spent 6 hours inside the most secure military installation in known space without triggering a single alarm. They copied battle plans, strategic assessments, and classified weapon specifications while planting logic bombs that would activate when humans were ready to reveal themselves. The stolen battle plans showed Exactly how the aliens would respond to different types of threats. Their standard tactics assumed that any enemy would use conventional weapons and follow predictable patterns of behavior. They had no contingency plans for fighting an opponent who knew all of their secrets and possessed superior technology. Maria Santos established hidden communication networks that allowed human agents to operate throughout alien territory without being detected. The networks used quantum entanglement principles that the aliens understood in theory, but had never successfully implemented. Human messages could travel instantly across any distance without leaving any trace that could be intercepted or decoded. Karen Stone trained new pilots on the advanced spacecraft that were being produced in secret factories around Earth. Each ship was unique and incorporated the latest improvements based on intelligence gathered from the breakthrough missions. The pilots learned to fight using tactics that no alien military academy had ever taught or considered. The time for hiding was almost over. Human forces had grown strong enough to challenge the entire galaxy. Human technology had advanced beyond anything the aliens possessed. Human intelligence networks provided complete information about enemy capabilities and intentions. Soon the galaxy would learn that reports of humanity death had been greatly exaggerated. Jake Morrison prepared for the mission that would announce humanity's return to the stars in the most dramatic way possible. This time, when human ships left the solar system, they would not be trying to hide. Instead, they would be carrying a message that the entire galaxy would understand. The message was simple. Humans were back, and they were not asking for permission. The merchant vessel Golden Prophet was halfway through its routine cargo run between the industrial world of Kepler-6 and the agricultural colonies of the Vega system when something impossible happened. The crew of 12 experienced spacers simply vanished from their posts without triggering any emergency systems or sending any distress calls. The ship continued flying on autopilot with its cargo holds completely empty and its security recordings wiped clean. When the hegemony patrol ship Dominator found the Golden Prophet drifting in space 3 hours later, they discovered the missing crew floating peacefully in escape pods. All 12 were alive and healthy, but had no memory of the previous 6 hours. Captain Thokvar of the Dominator filed his report with growing unease. This was the 14th such incident in 2 weeks, and the pattern was always exactly the same. Merchant ships would lose their crews and cargo to unknown attackers who left no evidence behind. The crews would be found safe but confused with their memories completely erased. Admiral Grixon read the reports from his flagship and decided that enough was enough. Pirates were one thing, but enemies who could make people disappear and reappear at will were something else entirely. He assembled a battle fleet of 12 heavy warships armed with the most advanced weapons in the galactic arsenal and crewed by veterans who had conquered dozens of worlds. The fleet took up positions along the trade routes where the mysterious attacks had been occurring. Each ship was equipped with the latest sensor technology and maintained constant communication with the others. If the Phantom Raiders appeared, again they would face the combined firepower of the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Jake Morrison piloted the USV Phantom toward the waiting alien fleet with calm precision. The human warship was invisible to every sensor the aliens possessed and armed with weapons that could penetrate any defense they had ever built. Behind him, Lieutenant Karen Stone coordinated the attack using intelligence gathered from 3 years of careful reconnaissance. The Phantom dropped out of hyperspace using a technology that the aliens had never seen before. Human scientists had discovered how to manipulate the quantum foam that underlied normal space-time, allowing their ships to appear anywhere without warning. The alien fleet had no time to react before the first human weapons found their targets. 3 alien warships died in the opening seconds as human plasma bolts punched through their shields and armor like paper. The remaining ships tried to return fire, but their weapons could not lock onto a target that bent space around itself. The Phantom danced between their attacks with impossible grace while its guns methodically destroyed everything they aimed at. Colonel Ryan Brooks appeared on the communication screens of the surviving alien ships. His face was impossible according to everything the galaxy believed about human extinction. Yet there he was speaking with calm authority while his ship systematically demolished their fleet. The aliens tried every weapon in their arsenal. Energy beams that could melt asteroids splashed harmlessly off human defensive screens. Missiles that could crack planetary surfaces were intercepted and destroyed before they could reach their target. Particle cannons that had won 1,000 battles found nothing but empty space where the human ship had been moments before Karen Stone monitored alien communications and tactical responses from her position on the Phantom Bridge. Every move the enemy made had been anticipated and planned for during the long years of preparation. Human computers analyzed alien formations faster than biological minds could think, and provided targeting solutions that were always perfect. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, 10 alien warships had been reduced to drifting wreckage and expanding clouds of debris. Only 2 vessels remained intact, and they were only alive because the humans had deliberately spared them to carry a message back to their commanders. Ryan Brooks opened communications with the surviving ships and spoke the words that would change galactic history forever. His voice was steady and controlled as he delivered humanity ultimatum to the species that had tried to erase them from existence. He told the alien survivors to inform their leaders that humanity remembered every insult, every abandoned colony, and every life that had been written off when the quarantine field was established. He explained that humans had spent 3 years preparing for this exact moment and developing weapons specifically designed to fight galactic technology. The demonstration was just the beginning, he warned them. Humanity had returned to the galaxy stronger and more dangerous than ever before. Any attempt to reinstall the AI, quarantine, or interfere with human operations would result in consequences that the galaxy was not prepared to face. The 2 surviving alien ships fled toward their nearest base, carrying news that would terrify every government in known space. Humanity was not extinct. They had used the 3 years of supposed death to become something far more threatening than anyone had imagined possible. Admiral Grixon received the report of his fleet destruction while sitting in his command center surrounded by tactical displays that showed the impossible battle. 12 of his best ships had been destroyed by a single human vessel using technology that should not exist. The few survivors spoke of weapons that could penetrate any defense, and ships that could appear and disappear at will. Emergency communications flooded the galactic networks as word spread that humans were alive and active. Trade ships reported encounters with vessels that matched no known design. Military patrols found their bases had been infiltrated by invisible intruders who left messages warning against hostile actions. Dr. Velnari analyzed the tactical recordings from the battle and reached conclusions that would have seemed impossible just days before. Human technology had advanced far beyond anything in the galactic database. Their weapons were more powerful, their defenses were more effective, and their ships were faster than the best vessels any major power possessed. Evidence suggested that humanity had been preparing for this revelation for years. The phantom thefts, the mysterious break-ins, and the strange sensor contacts had all been part of a coordinated intelligence operation. Humans had been gathering information and resources while the galaxy assumed they were dead and gone. Security Chief Korthak reviewed reports from across civilized space and found evidence of human activity dating back 3 years. The beings who were supposed to be extinct had been moving freely through galactic territory, stealing what they needed and learning everything they could about their former oppressors. Captain Zektar read the emergency bulletins and realized that the missing ore from his mining operation had been taken by human raiders. The phantom thieves who had seemed like ghosts were actually members of a species that had been thought extinct. They had been systematically gathering materials for what was obviously a massive military buildup. The galaxy was forced to confront a terrible truth. Humanity had not been destroyed by nuclear war as everyone believed. Instead, they had used the quarantine as cover to prepare for a war of revenge against the civilizations that had abandoned them. They had emerged from their supposed extinction stronger and more dangerous than ever before. The age of human weakness was over. The species that had once begged for acceptance in galactic civilization had become its greatest threat. Every government, every military force, and every world would now have to deal with the reality that humanity was back, and they were not interested in asking permission for anything. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in complete chaos, with representatives from over 100 worlds, shouting accusations and demands across the Great Assembly Hall. The impossible had happened and no one knew how to respond. Humanity was supposed to be extinct, but their warships were destroying fleets and their agents were operating throughout civilized space. Counselor, Tekvar of the hegemony stood at his podium and demanded immediate military action against the human threat. His deep voice carried across the chamber as he described the destruction of Admiral Grixen's fleet and the implications of human technological superiority. The species they had written off as primitive savages had somehow developed weapons that could defeat the best ships in the galaxy. Dr. Velnari rose to present her analysis of human activities over the past 3 years. Her scientific mind had pieced together the truth from scattered reports and evidence that others had dismissed. The humans had been conducting a systematic intelligence operation, while everyone believed they were dead. They had studied galactic technology, military tactics, and defensive capabilities with surgical precision. Security Chief Korthak added his own disturbing findings to the discussion. Human agents had penetrated the most secure facilities in known space without triggering any alarms. They had accessed classified information, copied military plans, and planted surveillance devices that were still transmitting data back to Earth. The scope of their operation was staggering in its complexity and effectiveness, but the most shocking revelation came when Velnari presented her conclusion about human intentions. Based on their pattern of resource gathering and intelligence collection, she believed that humans could have destroyed galactic civilization at any point during the past 3 years. Instead, they had chosen to reveal themselves through a demonstration of power that was clearly meant to open negotiations rather than begin a war of extermination. The debate raged for hours as different factions argued about how to respond. Some demanded that the full military might of the galaxy be brought against humanity before they could become even more dangerous. Others insisted that diplomatic contact should be established to determine what the humans actually wanted. A few wise voices suggested that fighting a species with superior technology might not be the smartest course of action. The argument was settled when every communication system in the council chamber suddenly activated without authorization. The security protocols that protected galactic government communications were bypassed as easily as if they had never existed. A human face appeared on screens throughout the assembly. Holland began speaking with calm authority. Morrison addressed the representatives of galactic civilization from the bridge of his ship somewhere in the depths of space. Behind him stood the leaders of the new human government, including Dr. Amy Rodriguez as science advisor, Colonel Danny Park as military commander, and Director Lisa Stone as chief diplomat. They were no longer the desperate refugees who had begged for acceptance decades earlier. Morrison's formal announcement was simple and direct. Humanity was officially returning to galactic civilization, whether the other species liked it or not. The quarantine around the solar system was declared null and void. Human ships would resume normal operations throughout the galaxy. Human colonies would be re-established in systems that had been abandoned years before. He explained that the demonstration against Admiral Grixen's fleet had been necessary to prove that humanity was no longer weak or defenseless. The 3 years of supposed extinction had been used to develop technology and gather intelligence that gave humans every advantage they needed. Any attempt to reinstall the quarantine or interfere with human expansion would be met with appropriate responses. The transmission included detailed information about human capabilities and intentions. Technical specifications for human weapons were provided to demonstrate their superiority over galactic standards. Intelligence reports showed that humans had been monitoring alien activities for years and knew everything about military capabilities and defensive positions. Most importantly, the message included an invitation for diplomatic contact. Coordinates were provided for a neutral meeting location where representatives could discuss the new reality of human power. The choice was simple: accept humanity as an equal partner in galactic civilization, or face the consequences of treating them as an enemy. The council session erupted into even greater chaos after the transmission ended. Some representatives declared that the human ultimatum was an act of war that demanded military retaliation. Others argued that negotiation was the only reasonable response to dealing with a technologically superior opponent. The debate continued for days as different worlds chose different responses. Ambassador Karen Stone led the human delegation to the neutral meeting station that had been established in deep space between major star systems. She carried authority to negotiate treaties, establish trade agreements, and define the boundaries of human expansion. The galaxy would learn that humans were no longer interested in asking permission. for things they could simply take. The first, diplomatic contacts were tense and difficult as alien representatives struggled to accept that their former inferiors had become their technological superiors. Human negotiators were patient but firm in their demands. They wanted recognition as a major power, full access to galactic trade networks, and the right to establish colonies wherever they chose. Some governments refused to accept the new reality and attempted to organize military resistance against human expansion. These efforts failed completely when human ships appeared over their capital worlds and demonstrated weapons that could reduce entire planets to rubble. The shows of force were carefully calculated to terrify without actually causing massive casualties. Within 6 months, 47 worlds had signed the new Terran Accords that formally recognized humanity as a galactic superpower. The agreements established trade relationships, diplomatic protocols, and mutual defense arrangements. More importantly, they acknowledged that the age of human weakness was permanently over. Dr. Amy Rodriguez opened research facilities on dozens of worlds where human and alien scientists could work together on advanced technology projects. The knowledge-sharing agreements benefited everyone, but humans remained careful to maintain their technological advantages. They had learned the hard way that superior firepower was the only thing that guaranteed respect in galactic politics. Colonel Danny Park established military bases throughout human territory and began training Allied forces in new tactical doctrines. The galaxy had to learn how to fight alongside humans rather than against them. Human weapons and strategies were shared with trusted allies, while potential enemies found their military capabilities increasingly obsolete. Lisa Stone coordinated the recolonization of abandoned human settlements and the establishment of new ones in previously unexplored systems. Human expansion proceeded at a pace that amazed everyone, including the humans themselves. 3 years of careful preparation had given them resources and capabilities that most species took centuries to develop. The universe had forgotten that humans existed, but humans had never forgotten about the universe. The species that had once been dismissed as aggressive primitives had returned as the galaxy's newest and most dangerous superpower. They had earned their position through determination, intelligence, and the willingness to do whatever was necessary to survive and thrive. Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the first human space station to be built outside the solar system in over 3 years. The view showed busy shipping lanes filled with vessels from dozens of worlds. Human ships moved freely among alien traders and explorers in a galaxy that had finally learned to respect rather than dismiss humanity. The age of hiding was over. The age of human space had begun. The frontiers that had been closed were open again, and this time humans would make sure that no one could ever forget they existed.